Day 28, When Peace Becomes Familiar. I'm Avery, and welcome to Daily Grace. This season, we are walking through a series called Trust, a steady return to God. Take a moment and settle where you are. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow just a little. You do not need to rush this moment. Just be here. Sometimes healing is so gradual that we almost miss it. The heart begins to steady. The mind begins to quiet. But because the change is slow, we hardly notice it at first. Peace begins to return in quiet ways. Not a sudden feeling, not as a dramatic shift, but as something gentle, something familiar. There may have been a time when your thoughts felt crowded, when every day carried tension you could not quite explain. You moved through life carefully, guarded, watching for what might go wrong. Trust felt distant then. Even small decisions carried weight. Even simple moments felt uncertain. But something has been happening beneath the surface. Not loudly, not all at once, slowly. Your heart has been learning steadiness again. Trust has been growing in quiet places. And sometimes the first sign of that growth is very simple. Peace begins to feel normal again. Not exciting, not surprising, just present. You wake up and notice that the tightness you once carried is not as strong. You move through a conversation and realize your thoughts are not racing the way they once did. You pause in the middle of the day and feel something you had almost forgotten. Calm. Not perfect calm, but real calm. The kind that sits gently on your chest. The kind that lets you breathe a little deeper. Peace has a way of returning slowly, and when it does, it can feel almost unfamiliar at first. Your mind may even question it. Is this real? Will it last? But over time, something begins to shift. Peace stops feeling unusual. It starts to feel like home. The heart remembers what steadiness feels like. The body relaxes into it. The soul recognizes the quiet safety of God's presence. Scripture speaks about this kind of peace in a simple and steady way. In Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3, we read, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." This verse does not describe a loud victory. It speaks about something quieter, a mind that rests, a heart that trusts, a life held in steady peace. God's peace is not built on perfect circumstances. It grows from a steady relationship, from learning little by little that God remains present, even through uncertainty, even through long seasons of waiting, even through disappointment. Trust begins to shape the inner world, and peace begins to live there again. I remember noticing this during one ordinary evening. I was just going through my usual rhythm of life, a quiet dinner, a few simple tasks around the house, and later that evening, I just sat down and relaxed, noticing that the air around me was cool, it was quiet, and something inside me felt different. It wasn't emotional. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was just steady. And for a long time before that, my thoughts had been often restless, even when nothing was wrong. But that evening, there was space inside my mind. That space was stillness. And I realized something. Peace had returned, but not in a way that demanded attention, but slowly enough that I had almost missed it. God had been restoring something in me day by day, moment by moment. My heart had been learning to trust again. And because of that, peace no longer felt rare. It felt natural. See, sometimes we expect healing to look dramatic, but often it looks like this. You begin to move through your days with less tension. Your thoughts feel lighter. Your breathing feels easier. You notice quiet moments that once would have passed by unnoticed. You begin to trust the ground beneath you is steady, that God has not left, that His presence is not fragile, and that peace is not something you must chase. It is something God gently grows within you over time, with patience, with care. Trust has a way of reshaping the inner life. Little by little, the heart becomes less afraid, less guarded, less tired. Not because life becomes perfect, but because the soul remembers where it is safe, where it can rest, and all of that is in God's steadiness. And when that truth settles deeply, peace begins to feel familiar again. Not dramatic, not fragile, just present. Like a quiet light in the room that is steady, faithful, unhurried. Today, you may notice small signs of this, moments where your thoughts are calm, moments where your breathing slows, moments where you realize you are not carrying the same weight you once did. You do not have to analyze these moments. You do not have to hold them tightly. Just notice them. Let them exist. Peace is not something you force. It is something you receive. Something that grows when trust has room to breathe. And slowly, very slowly, it becomes part of the rhythm of your life again. A familiar steadiness, a quiet place your heart can rest. God has been near through every part of this journey, through the restless nights, through the uncertain days, through the long, quiet seasons where trust felt difficult. And He is still near now, still steady, still faithful, still holding you in His care. Peace returning to your life is not an accident. It is the quiet work of God, and it is allowed to grow slowly, just as it is, just as you are. May you move through this day gently. May you remember that trust does not have to rush. God is steady, and you are still being held. Until next time, this is Avery.